All right, everyone. So you've been watching part 3 of our getting started on Magic Online for only $20, the deck building section. And I wanted to update it because we've had a rotation in Standard, which means that some of the decks have changed. So all the information in the tutorial, that stays the same. That doesn't change. You buy cards the same way, you purchase cards the same way, all the other stuff is still good, but because the format has rotated, I wanted to update with a fresher deck that is hopefully going to be a little bit better, more competitive, more up to date in our current meta. So we're where we were before on the metagame page for Standard. We're going to switch over to Online and just scroll down here to the budget decks, just like we were talking about a minute ago. And then we're looking for Insolent Red. So this is kind of the updated deck that I would be recommending for the Getting Started series now. As you can see, it's only 8.11 ticks, which is super cheap, exactly the price range we're looking for the Getting Started for $20, because it costs $10 to get your Magic Online account. So add in another 8 tickets to buy the deck, you're looking at about $18. And I think this deck is it's definitely more up to date, and it's probably more competitive right now than the one in the original video. So basically what we have going on is a mono red madness aggro deck with a lot of vampires. So what we're looking to do is play a bunch of aggressive creatures and then discard a bunch of cards so we can cast them with our madness cost. So a lot of our cards, almost all of our cards, are one of two things. They're either discard outlets, cards that let us discard a card, or they're cards that have madness, which means when we discard them, we can cast them for their madness cost, which is often cheaper than their converted mana cost. So we're just going to go over this really quickly, so if you do pick up this deck, you'll have an idea of how it works. So this would be my recommendation if you're looking to get started on Magic Online for only $20. So creature-wise, we have a mixture of discard outlets and madness creatures. So Insolent Neonate, a 1/1 for 1. You can sack it to discard a card, to draw a card. And also Ravenous Bloodseeker is a 2-mana 1/3. You can discard a card to give it +2, -2, so it becomes a 3/1 until end of turn. So we're hoping to play these on the first turn, on the second turn of the game, and then we use them to discard powerful cards like Blood Mad Vampire, a 4/1 for 3 mana, but it madnesses for only 2 mana. So if we discard it to a Ravenous Bloodseeker, we get a mana discount on its mana cost and get a 4/1 for just 2 mana. Stromkirk Occultist, we get a 3/2 for 2 mana if we can madness it, when normally it's 3 mana. And then Incurable Use, a 4/3 with haste for only 3 mana. So the basic idea of the deck is we're going to use our discard outlets to discard these creatures, play them early, get in a lot of damage really quick. Our removal kind of works the same way. Harness Lightning is just a removal spell for creatures, doesn't really work with any of our synergies. The rest of our removal, though, we got Lightning Axe, 1 mana, 5 damage to a creature, but you have to discard a card as an additional cost to cast it, or pay 5 extra mana. So we can use this to kill something, discard one of our madness creatures, or we can discard Avacyn's Judgment, a burn spell that becomes X in red to deal that much damage, divided however we choose to creatures or players, if we can madness it. And then Fiery Temper, which is 3 damage for 3 mana, but it turns into a lightning bolt, 3 damage for only 1 mana if we can cast it with madness. So that's the main plan of the deck. We also have Key to the City, a new card from Kaladesh. It does everything we want it to do. So we can discard a card, and up to 1 target creature can't be blocked, which is super nice with our 4/1s and our 4/3s. We can discard a card, maybe one of our madness cards that we've been talking about, to key from the city, to make one of our powerful creatures unblockable and get in damage. And then, when Key to the City untaps on our upkeep, we can pay 2 mana if we want to, and we get to draw an extra card. So in the worst case, we can get rid of extra lands that we don't need, and turn those into other cards, while making our creatures unblockable. So pretty much, we want to play these aggressive creatures, we want to play our madness creatures for their madness cost, which makes them even cheaper, get in a bunch of early damage, then kill our opponent with Avacyn's Judgment, with Fiery Temper, and with Key to the City, making our creatures unblockable. So that's the main idea of this deck, and like I said before, only $8.11 on Magic Online. So if you are getting into Magic Online for $20, this puts your total cost at just over $18. $10 to get in the program, maybe a little bit of tax thrown in, and then another $8.11 to get your deck. So it puts you right in the $20 range to get started on Magic Online and have a deck that's pretty competitive and can steal some events in Standard. So, as I mentioned before, everything else in the getting started on Magic Online tutorial, that remains true, but I wanted to throw up this extra video just to show off this deck and give you another option. So if you're going through the getting started series and thinking about buying the deck, follow the steps I've laid out, do everything the same way, but I would recommend purchasing Insolent Red for 8 ticks instead of the Eldrazi deck we were talking about in the original version of the video.